All right, guys, it is official. The WNBA Expansion Draft for its two newest teams, the Toronto Tempo and Portland Fire, is over. They have their rosters. We got to break this down. The Indiana Fever lost two players in this expansion draft. We got to get into it. Welcome to Keep the Vision. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, share the channel, hit that bell notification to hype the video. That would be greatly appreciated. We have to get right into things. Basketball things finally taking place, and it all started here with the WNBA Expansion Draft. The Indiana Fever had to make decisions.
Stephanie White stared at the draft board, stunned. The carefully crafted plan to surround Caitlin Clark with elite floor spacers had just unraveled. One name was circled in red, the player the Indiana Fever could not afford to lose if they wanted to fully leverage their superstar's talent. And as the Portland Fire made their pick official, the room seemed to freeze. The ideal teammate, the one who understood Clark's gravitational pull better than anyone, was officially off the table. This wasn't just a roster setback. It was a crushing blow to the Fever's championship ambitions, leaving White seething in pride.
But she still technically was a part of the Indiana Fever's roster going forward. Her rights have been taken. Okay, and we also lost the Red Bomber. The Red Bomber, Chloe Bibby, who we all became a fan of. We thought she fit in really well with the way Caitlin Clark plays, being that pick and pop four that could be a corner spot up shooter, could really space the floor. She dealt with injuries, as everyone pretty much did on this Indiana Fever team last season that was completely riddled and destroyed due to injuries. So
the WNBA Expansion Draft has officially shaken up the league. And for the Indiana Fever, it's nothing short of a nightmare. The Toronto Tempo and Portland Fire didn't settle for bench warmers. They went straight for the heart of Indiana's lineup. Forced to make impossible protection decisions, the Fever watched their gamble backfire spectacularly. Now the fallout is settling, and fans are realizing that the roster Caitlin Clark depends on is being dismantled piece by piece. This isn't just about losing players. It's about losing the precise chemistry that makes this offense
tempo. And we are going to get into all of that, man. Look, Indiana Fever, this is done. Y'all got to make the right decisions now. The Toronto Tempo, they did select Marina Mabry. They took her off of the market. Julie Alleman from the LA Sparks. Aaliyah Nye from the Las Vegas Aces. Obviously, they got Christy Wallace from the Indiana Fever. Okay, so they got some pieces, and we'll see how this team comes together. Obviously, they still have their draft pick as well. They got let me see, Lexi Held. She was with
the expansion draft was meant to be a growing pain for the league, but for Stephanie White, it's become a personal crisis. The Fever lost two critical pieces they had counted on to build this season's foundation. First, the Toronto Tempo swooped in and claimed the rights to Christy Wallace. Though she had been playing overseas, Wallace was a key tactical piece the Fever had relied on for depth. But the real gut punch came when the Portland Fire announced their selection of the Red Bomber herself, Chloe Bby. That move reportedly pushed White to the brink, leaving her visibly shaken as the draft unfolded.
I was quoted as saying, and I put it in my video, that Bridget Carlton would be a good Kelsey Mitchell replacement if you were to lose her. Looks like that wouldn't be able to come to fruition, as she was the first pick in the draft. Bridget Carlton was the number one pick in the expansion draft. Okay, she's going to be a building block for them. I also love the addition of Sarah Ashley Barker from the Los Angeles Sparks. I thought they might protect her, but they got too much young talent. You got Kelsey Plum, you got Cameron Brink, you got Azarae Stevens, you got Rakia Jackson, you got a bunch of young talent over.
Why was Chloe Bby so essential to the Fever's blueprint? It's simple. She is the prototype of the perfect Caitlin Clark teammate. Bby is a lethal pick and pop forward who can stretch the floor from the corner, keeping the paint wide open for Aaliyah Boston. In today's WNBA, a championship caliber team cannot survive without a forward who can shoot lights out, and Bby checked that box effortlessly. Last season may have been plagued by injuries for Indiana, but every glimpse of Bby's brilliance made it clear she was the missing piece. Now, that vision has been completely wiped away by the expansion draft.
You know, here it says, courtesy of Underdog WNBA, potential unrestricted free agents selected in the expansion draft. The Toronto Tempo took Marina Mabry. Okay, and the Fire took Bridget Carlton. These two players are unrestricted free agents, but I'm pretty sure that because they were picked so high, these teams are going to give them the most money that they can get outside of any other team. And that's just where it would be. Each team was allowed to select one potential free agent. All right. So that is what went down in the expansion draft. And now it's time, man.
The strategy of the expansion teams was clear from the start. Target the franchises with the most untapped potential. Toronto and Portland recognized that Indiana was stacked at the top but vulnerable in its depth. By snatching BBY and Wallace, they've effectively stripped the Fever of their roster flexibility. Stephanie White is now left staring at the protection list, wondering if a different approach could have saved her shooter. The frustration is undeniable. Every weakening of the support around Caitlin Clark is magnified under the microscope, and every misstep feels like a glaring failure.
The way they put the roster together, going and getting people who are talking about winning MVP like Natasha Howard and just stuff like that. It was ridiculous, man. Last season was absolutely ridiculous, and it cannot happen again. What happened last year cannot happen again under any circumstance. Under any circumstance can we deal with that again. That was ridiculous. DeWanna Bonner taking money. And a lot of this falls on Stephanie White because you went back and got people that you felt like you had relationships with, that you trust, and all of this stuff, and people that played for you before.
But the pain didn't end with the players lost from the roster. Indiana also missed a massive opportunity that could have changed everything. Bridget Carleton, the #1 overall pick in the expansion draft, was widely regarded by insiders as the Fever's missing piece. A versatile wing, Carleton could have stepped in seamlessly as a high-level replacement if Kelsey Mitchell were to leave. She was within reach, right there for the taking, if the front office had played their cards differently. Instead, she's now the cornerstone of a brand-new Portland franchise, leaving Indiana to watch potential slip through their fingers.
I don't think you did it right last offseason. And we got to get people in here that want to fit into the Caitlin Clark system and style of play. We need to get rid of let Natasha Howard go. Let Bree Turner go. Like, let them go on about their business. Let Sydney Colson go. Maybe she'll be an assistant coach or something. But as far as playing, let her go. Ari McDonald, let her go. She's always hurt. Odyssey Sims, let her go. Like, it's time to rebuild this thing up right. With the right pieces around Caitlin Clark and Aaliyah Boston. And there's a big decision to be made.
For Indiana fans, this entire situation feels like a recurring nightmare. Last offseason was already described by many as a complete debacle, and the expansion draft has only reopened those wounds. Every decision from the Fever front office is being questioned, especially around roster construction. Stephanie White has repeatedly emphasized the need for players who fit the system, but the team continues to lose precisely the archetypes that would thrive alongside a generational passer like Caitlin Clark. It's a disconnect that threatens to derail the team's momentum and cast a shadow over the season ahead.
Around Caitlin Clark and Aaliyah Boston, and there's a big decision to be made on Kelsey Mitchell. And I don't know what the Indiana Fever are going to do about it, but it's a big decision to be made on Kelsey Mitchell. And I think that they've got to figure that out. Let's take a look, man. Caitlin Clark had a clip where she sat down and talked about what it means to play in Indiana. Let's take a look at this clip real quick here.
I think growing up, I had a lot of really good coaches. Whether that was when I was really young, my dad was my first ever coach, and getting to see him not only as my dad, but as
Much of the current tension stems from how the roster was built last year. The Fever leaned heavily on familiar faces, bringing in players based on past relationships rather than fitting in the modern game. Stephanie White returned to trusted names she had coached before, like Natasha Howard. While Howard brings veteran experience, the chemistry on the floor often felt clunky and stagnant. The league has shifted toward a faster, more explosive style, and the Fever's insistence on sticking with legacy players instead of dynamic young shooters like Chloe Baby is a major reason they find themselves in this hole today. Last season was also marred by an individualistic mindset in the locker room. Players came in chasing MVPs while the team struggled to establish basic rhythm, a culture that doesn't work when you have a generational passer like Caitlin Clark, who needs a selfless, high IQ system to thrive. The expansion draft should have been an opportunity to reset and bring in players willing to buy into that system. Instead, Indiana is losing exactly the players who were ready to sacrifice for the greater good of spacing and offensive flow. Now, a radical transformation is looming. Tough phone calls must be made. The era of keeping players solely for their veteran status or potential has to end. Names like Bree Turner and Lexi Hull are being scrutinized anew. But the real focus is on veterans who aren't moving the needle. The message is clear: let them go. Whether it's Natasha Howard or others misaligned with the championship timeline, the Fever cannot cling to the past if they ever want to see Caitlin Clark hoist a trophy. Even the veteran leadership in the locker room is being questioned, with doubts about whether some players have truly reached the end of their playing days. Sydney Carlson is a fan favorite and a locker room staple, but at some point, every roster spot must earn its keep. There's been talk of moving her into an assistant coaching role, letting her maintain the team's energy while freeing space on the court for players who can contribute to spacing and defensive intensity. Every spot matters when you're chasing championships. The list of potential departures is growing as the front office feels the heat. Odyssey Sims and Erie McDonald have had their moments, but consistency is lacking for a team with title aspirations. In a league that grows younger, faster, and more skilled every season, filler simply isn't an option. The expansion draft proved just how undervalued Indiana's young talent is. Other teams see their worth more clearly than the Fever themselves. Look at Portland. Their picks weren't just players, they were a philosophy. By selecting Chloe BBY and Sarah Ashley Barker, they've built a core that is gritty, versatile, and capable of filling multiple roles. Barker, a standout for the Sparks who many expected would be protected, slipped through the cracks, and Portland pounced. She's now poised to log major minutes. Portland didn't stop there. They also took Na Mule from the Seattle Storm despite her recovering from a devastating ACL injury, signaling a long-term vision. Patience for high IQ defenders who will return fully healthy. Meanwhile, the Fever are losing ready-to-play, high-impact shooters like BBY. It's a stark contrast in management styles. One team hunts for specific traits that win games, while the other seems to be letting its best fits walk out the door. Stephanie White's frustration is more than justified. Under the expansion draft rules, each team could select one potential unrestricted free agent, and both Toronto and Portland played their moves with precision. Toronto claimed Marina Maberry, a proven bucket-getter capable of instantly changing a game, while Portland took Bridget Carleton. These teams are likely to invest heavily to keep these players off the open market, effectively eliminating two of Indiana's top off-season targets. The options for surrounding Caitlin Clark with elite talent are shrinking by the hour, and the clock is ticking loudly. Perhaps the biggest cloud over the franchise is the future of Kelsey Mitchell, the longtime heart and soul of the Fever. Decisions on her return are becoming increasingly complicated. Losing Mitchell in free agency, after already forfeiting key backup options in the expansion draft, could plunge Indiana into full-blown crisis. She is a high-volume scorer, but her fit alongside Clark has always been a work in progress. The team now faces a pivotal choice: double down on Mitchell or pursue a completely different archetype to fill the backcourt void. Amid all this front office chaos, Caitlin Clark remains the steadying force, though even she must feel the weight. In recent interviews, she's reflected on her upbringing, revealing that basketball has never been just about the game for her but about resilience, growth, and the pressure to succeed. And Caitlin Clark was raised to be a great teammate and a well-rounded person, with a focus on school and family. That grounded perspective allows her to shoulder the immense weight of being the face of a franchise. But even the most composed superstar needs a front office that doesn't make her job harder by letting her best teammates get taken away. The one true saving grace for Indiana is the duo of Clark and Aaliyah Boston. They are the foundation everything else must be built upon. Yet a foundation without walls and a roof is just a slab of concrete. The expansion draft was supposed to be the time for the Fever to identify and protect those walls at all costs. Instead, they left the windows open, and the Portland Fire walked right in and took the furniture. Stephanie White knows that the window of opportunity in sports is painfully small, and she cannot afford to waste another year of this dynamic duo. Meanwhile, the Toronto Tempo is quietly building a juggernaut up north. By securing Marina Maberry and Christy Wallace, they've crafted a backcourt capable of competing with anyone in the league. They are establishing a culture of toughness and shooting, the exact blueprint Indiana should be following. The fact that they were able to pluck a player from the Fever system who fits their vision so perfectly is a testament to their scouting acumen. Toronto is entering the league with a clear identity, while Indiana still feels like a team searching for its post-draft purpose. And we circle back to the loss of Chloe BBY, which is truly the crux of Stephanie White's frustration. When Caitlin Clark drives to the basket, the defense collapses, but without a teammate like BBY to stretch the floor, that advantage is wasted. The Fever's blueprint is crumbling at its most critical points, and the clock is